glare out of the way.
It's all right. I have a little bit of glare myself. But all right. So this is Liar's Pacifist on this Saturday afternoon. A bit rainy, kind of got a sick household, but we're pushing through. Got a guy on here who approached me, well, not approached me in the literal sense, but contacted me through a mutual group we're in on Facebook, and he posted up his stuff and wanted me to reach out to him in DM and check out his music. And if you're curious who that is, I've been posting about him for a couple of days now, and that is Skull Mason. And the gentleman I'm talking about is Aaron Holland of Skull Mason. How are we doing?
Good. How you doing, Will?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Just living the dream.
Yeah, glad you're feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, a couple of days ago, I was groggy, head was tight, just everything was foggy, and like I told you, I was forgetting some things that were important to remember. And so they kind of, like I said in that thing, another band I booked for this same day. And I knew that I had another one today, but the time frame is where I got hung. I'm like, oh crap, I gotta go check with Aaron and see if it's overlapping or not. Good thing we're not. We're clear by at least an hour and a half or 2 hours between it. So we're good. But no, man, I'm excited to dive into the album, dive into kind of how you create what you make, the kind of metal that you make. It's sort of it's a style that I want to be more polarizing, because it used to be very polarizing back in the 80s and into the 90s. And then, of course, grunge comes along, and for the longest time, grunge was all people were talking about. I love grunge personally, but thrash has always had a really special place in my heart. You know, I listen to, Metallica, your shirt that you have on, Testament, Megadeth, obviously, Slayer, all the usual ones that people listen to. But I also like discovering those obscure and the unknowns. And I would say that you're kind of one of those unknowns in a sense, right? People listen to you, they know who you are within a certain circle, And so that's why I wanted to bring you on. And the hope is, if I could get 1-2 people to message you or to go out and check out your music after this or throughout it, I call that a win for you and me.
Oh, definitely, man. Every person counts. And that's all I really want as a musician, just for people to listen. And I don't have an entire gig-ready band right now, so I'm super appreciative of this opportunity, because this is how I can spread the word.
Yeah, exactly, man. And you could spread it any way you want to on here. You could say as much as you want. You could drop all the links to your socials where people could find your music. And anything that you could think of, just don't hesitate to throw it out there, because that's the whole point.
That's awesome, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into it. I kind of did a little bit of an intro for you, but I'll give the reins over to you and let you say who you are in a more in-depth way and what Skull Mason is about. And basically a little bit of background is what I'm asking for you. And then kind of what led to Skull Mason coming to in existence, like the influences, what pushed you in that direction, sort of stuff.
Sure. Where to start? Well, my name is Aaron, and I am the only member in this, I don't know, band's even a proper word at this point, this project that I'm trying to turn into a band. I spent in the Albany, New York scene about 20 years playing in a band called Straight Through Sanity. Similar style as the Skull Mason stuff, but I don't know, maybe a little bit more on the power metal-y side, maybe. I don't know if that's quite the right term, but with that band, I kind of, after so many years, felt like we're beating a dead horse. So I kind of stepped aside from that and started writing these songs, which I had a friend who was cool enough to allow me to do some demo work at his house. So I was demoing these songs and just posting them online to my friends. At which point I had a drummer reach out to me, this guy named Chris Williams, plays drums over in the UK, band called Gamma Bomb, another band called Shrapnel, another band called Struck the Nerve. He's like a very busy drummer, and he does session work as well. And he offered his services, which I took him up on. And next thing you know, I have a completed album. And you know, I was really feeling the way the material was going. So I reached out to my friend Danimal from Danimal Sounds, who was a mixing guy, and he put a killer mix on it. And he forwarded the project to this guy named Machine the Producer, who's worked with like Lamb of God during like the Sacrament era.
That's a big name.
The rates are reasonable, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have the guy who worked at Lamb of God work on my stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, I had a full album, about 30 minutes or so worth of material to release, and now here we are. It got to the point where I feel like it deserves to be played live. So my current situation is I'm trying to establish a full band.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we have some prospects and some auditions going on, but nothing in stone yet. The goal is for 2025 to have a couple of live shows.
Well, hey man, any way I can help in that aspect, I will do my best. You know, it's my hope is that it goes the way you're hoping it will. You know, it's not an easy task finding, you know, band members. You know, it's not. I mean, sometimes it could happen like you go into like a coffee shop or like a grocery store or something, and let's say it's like a guy wearing a shirt, and you're like, hey, that's a cool band, you know, a nice shirt, and you guys strike up a conversation, and let's say they have to be like a bassist or something. You know, that happens that way sometimes, but more often I think it takes a little more time, you know, because not everybody has that fortunate circumstance of growing up with, you know, people that become musicians, and then those basically become your bandmates.
Yeah. And what I'm finding is that people want to start from scratch, and I already have this material written, so it's a lot of homework to sit down and learn these songs, you know.
Yeah.
But that being said, moving forward, I want to write original material with, you know, collaborators. So it would be a band situation. It's not like you know, like for example, like Megadeth, where Dave's like writing all the songs and everybody's just hired guns.
Right.
It wouldn't be like that so much.
Well, because eventually, you know, the one man show is basically like a temporary thing for the time being, or as long as it ends up running that way. And in that time, you know, you're going to be focusing on, you know, making the music, you know, and keeping your search going. Obviously, you're wanting to do, you know, interviews and keep your name out there circulating and
doing what I can, yeah,
doing what you can, because, you know, it's not easy. You know, doing a podcast isn't easy. You know, anything, you know, it's not easy. It takes work, it takes time, but you cultivate it. And
you work real hard just to stay booked with interviews, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Because my bad habit, like I said to you, is that I have this tendency. I've done it only maybe 3 times, but I'm noticing it's starting to happen more often. Is I'll get so excited because all these people are reaching out to me, and I'll find that I'm double booked on the same day, and I'm like, oh, geez, man. So I gotta figure out, okay, does it overlap? Is there enough time between where I could reset everything up?
Mm-hmm.
But I love it, man. You know, it keeps me busy on my weekends, you know, when I'm hanging out with my kiddo and, you know, doing things with him. But let's kind of dive into let's talk a little bit about favorite thrash albums, and then we're going to segue into more about the album itself. What were some pinnacle albums for you that really solidified you basically loving that sound so much?
Oh man, what jumps right out if you're talking about favorite thrash metal album, to me would probably be Rust in Peace.
Yeah.
Megadeth, The Legacy, Testament, Alice in Hell by Annihilator,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Justice for All.
Yeah.
Oh damn, dude, there's so many. I love it. Creator, like Extreme Aggression. You know, all that German stuff too, like Agent Orange by Sodom. I could go on, dude. I grew up on thrash metal. That being said, there's a lot of other genres that heavily influenced me. I've spent a lot of time listening to bands like Symphony X and Nevermore, like more progressive type of stuff. But
yeah,
I feel like sometimes they lose some people who like the heavier stuff because they get so epic and grandiose. So I kind of take some of those influences and I'll shove them through the thrash filter, and kind of keep it a little bit more, aggressive, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think you pull it off when you're, because you do blend in different kind of genres, like you're saying. But for point of interest, or like the main kind of sound that people will hear throughout the record is that thrash element, right? But I picked up on when I was listening through it, and I don't know if I did the first time through or the second time through, but this listen through this morning, I was kind of listening to your vocals a bit more, and there's moments where you're kind of making me think a little bit of like Glenn Danzig when you're singing, or like not because your voice is as deep as this guy's, but there's some tendencies or some pitch to your voice in parts where I think of Peter Steele from Typo Negative, or and this one might be weird, but there's times where I even started thinking of Smith from The Cure. And then I know that's weird, man, but like there's these moments in the songs where I'm like, so with the vocal style you're doing, why do I keep thinking of that? And I couldn't figure out why, and I still don't know why, but there's these qualities in your voice that I was picking up on when I was listening through that. I'm like, hey, that's really cool, and it really lends this you're really good about lending the aggression to the songs, like a heaviness with your voice on top of the heavy guitars and like the bass and the drums. And one song in particular where I really like that is Power of Mind. Like that song, like I just sit there, I just rock out. My kid, kind of listens into it a little bit, and he notices music. It's more like that Mickey Mouse stuff. But like if I have on some of what I'm listening to, I notice him, and he's just standing there and he'll be listening to it. And when I know he's liking it is when he kind of just settles in and he sits down. And he doesn't sit down for long. He sits, maybe 40 seconds. He's up and he's running around some more. But that's now how I know that he likes what he heard, and I think he likes Skull Mason, at least what he's heard from it. And I really don't know what kind of music he's into because he's only 6 and he hasn't really explored it a lot. But just a little cool thing to point out to you. He noticed something about your music that made him want to stop and listen. So. You've got some reach there, man. Like you've got things in your music that is going to appeal to the right people, I guess is the point I'm trying to make here. And and in particular, the way you put your music together for a one-man band is kind of intricate and it's dynamic, and not always it'll come off that way because it can kind of sound a little bit singular because it's just one mind that's thinking up these songs and putting them together. But you do it in a way that makes it sound like it was multiple people, and these ideas are getting fleshed out as good as they can be.
That's cool to hear, man. Yeah, some 60-year-old all the way to I got 60-year-old metalheads, so it's a good age range right there. As far as the writing goes, I found being able to write by myself really helped me focus a little bit more so than in the band environment. A lot of times if you're writing in the jam room with all the guys, it's like too many chefs in the kitchen kind of situation.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. Are you worried about it all when you get some more folks in the band that are kind of more permanent? Like when you introduce and say, hey, you got an idea you want to try out for a song, or hey, you got a lyric or what? Are you worried about how they will respond if you say, no, I'm not really feeling that? Or are you more optimistic and feeling like you'll find the right people that'll be as, open to other ideas? Like if you shoot something down, but say, but let's tweak it a little bit and try it this way. How do you think you might approach that kind of situation being the only writer right now?
I don't think that would be an issue at all. I'm very diverse in my musical taste. So I think the more influences, the better. But like I said, all these influences kind of get filtered through a thrash funnel. Mm-hmm. So if somebody comes out with like a funky bass line or something like that, that's going to be sick. You hear that in metal. But you might have a badass drum beat over. You make it work. You make it work within the paradigm of thrash metal. But it's a pretty wide genre. I think you can do a lot of different stuff within it and still make it badass.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Try things that people wouldn't exactly think would be something to fit in a thrash song. Like, a saxophone or like a flute or something, just something weird, or like
you hear the new Opeth CD? They got a flute solo in it. It's awesome.
I did, yes. That's why I brought that up. I'm like, flute. But I thought it was pretty cool sounded, like the way they incorporated.
It keeps the listen interesting. You don't want the same song over and over. What's the point of that?
Exactly. It's something that I think exists in thrash, not within everything because there's plenty of variety, but there is a lot of thrash out there though that kind of blends together though, because they're wanting to be purists with it, and that's fine. I completely believe in embracing fully your vision for something. So, more power to them.
Definitely.
But you keep saying that you filter all these influences into like this funnel, right? And I think that's a very positive thing, because that means, and that tells me that you're open to trying things within that realm of thrash instead of just wanting it to be just one single thing. And that already exists on your album, by the way. Like, there's a lot of diversity in there. There's most where I hear punk in there, there's hardcore moments, it's all these things that are coming together. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the album, while we're on the subject, and just kind of dive in a little bit deeper with the process.
Sure.
How long were some songs written, years ago? How many songs were written during the process of the album? Things like that.
I think I had a handful of songs. Well, first of all, I'm always just jamming on my guitar in front of my cell phone, recording ideas, so I don't forget them,
Right.
But those ideas kind of turned into a handful of songs that I was showing to my previous band, and nothing was ever really happening with them, with those guys, at least, because we were focused on getting tight for an upcoming gig or whatever. So it just never happened for one reason or the other. So I just started demoing the songs at my friend's house, and I was having so much fun that I think I just like struck a well of inspiration. And we're doing like weekly sessions, a couple hours every week, and I could just come back every week with a new song. So that these songs are written in a relatively short amount of time.
Wow.
it's just fun. Yeah, it's more so than anything. My favorite part of being a musician is writing music.
Yeah.
And that part comes naturally. The promotion and all that kind of stuff's a little
kind of secondary.
Yeah, well, it's just kind of like, it requires like an amount of ego that's not like natural to me. You gotta be like, hey, everybody, this is me. Check out my stuff.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, I know what you mean with that fully. Like, I kind of struggle with promoting myself on my own page sometimes, because I don't want to come across as just self-absorbed with it. I by nature I'm not a real outgoing kind of person. I'm more of an introvert, which is funny because I do a podcast, right? And so like I kind of go, I know what you mean. It goes against your own nature when to promote something without feeling like you're coming across of like please, or hey guys, kind of thing. I get it,
right. Or you're treating your friends like somebody you're trying to sell something to.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things where you just got to do it, because if you don't do it, if you don't do it, then what do you expect to come of it, right? Like for like a goal you have, like you might not reach that goal line if you're sitting there with cement shoes, not want to move.
No, you're absolutely right.
So no, Ed, that's really cool. So I wanted to bring up a song. It had a guest feature. I think it's the last song on the album. Thrash Attack, right? Thrash Attack?
Thrash Machine.
Thrash Machine, yeah. Your guest feature on that song. I don't know if I'm familiar with the name.
David Secord.
Yeah.
He plays in a local band called Incontinence.
Okay, I think that's familiar.
Yeah, they're pretty badass. You can find them on streaming services and whatnot. Yeah, David's just a musician. There's a lot of local musicians in the area who I admire, and he being one of them. So the guy who recorded me, Jared Weed, actually plays in Incontinence as well.
Oh, wow.
I was like, hey, Jared, you mind hitting up Dave, seeing if he's down for this spot, because we need some death metal vocals right here. And that's just not what I do, really.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm working on it. I'm not quite there, especially at that time. And he came and did those during the breakdown in that song. Towards the end, he does those guttural vocals.
And it sounds sick.
Yeah. And
Like,
he did a little solo after his vocal spot as well. And it came out freaking awesome. All the guest spots on the album are my favorite parts. Like, and I feel like my parts suck.
Nah, man, not at all. Like I like that you're humble about it, you know, but don't sell yourself short either at the same time, you know. You're very capable with what you do. Like completely upfront with you, man. Like a big thing I noticed with your music is it's a lot of it's fully realized ideas, and he said he did it in a relatively short amount of time for a lot of the songs, and you had fun with it. But I think that's a positive, because usually when someone says that something, oh, that took no time at all, one of my first thoughts is, you know, just by my nature is like, okay, so did they take a lot of time to think this out and really flesh it out, give it time to kind of breathe, you know, and then bloom into something. You know, you used the word grandiose earlier, so I'll use the same word, you know, a grandiose idea. But for you, when you said that it came together relatively quick, and you said you just had so much fun, like, okay, so that's a really good thing, because that means that he was really into it, really in tuned into the moment with those songs, and that lends in a really positive way to the record as a whole. You know, as a fully realized album, and the guest spots are some of my favorite moments on the album. For me, also, you know, like, and then I want to bring up Lamentation. You know, that's sick.
The little
like
acoustic
ditty. Yeah, I started playing it there just now, like, because I listened to your album in full, you know, a couple of times this morning, and then I put it on shuffle. And it started with Lamentation, then I think it went into Past Life Haunting from that. They're like, oh, that would have been a really cool way to introduce the album if you started with Lamentation and then went into Past Life Haunting, because the way that would kind of, like, oh, it's kind of like this, you know, acoustic thing, then it gets into a little bit of lead and stuff for the Lamentation, and then it kicks into this, like, heavy assault, this, like, you know, just headbanging, and it's got some groove.
Yeah.
But I love Lamentation. That's why I'm bringing it up. I love those.
If you pay attention to that song, it was actually part of the song that follows it, Shortfall.
Yeah.
You can kind of hear similarities in the melody carried over in the next song. But the song ended up being over like 7 minutes when they were together, so I chopped it, you know, so you can kind of skip over the acoustic and get right to the heavy part if you don't feel like messing around with acoustics, you know.
I love long songs, by the way. So for me personally, as one of your fans and one of your listeners, I am completely cool with long songs, man. You know, I listen to Tool, I listen to Dream Theater, you know, and some Dream Theater songs could be over 20 minutes long, or Porcupine Tree. They have songs that go almost for 20 minutes, you know. So it's I have no shortage of attention span when it comes to music.
That's good. Another thing I really like are concept albums.
Yeah.
You know, and then you want to talk about needing an attention span to really take in a concept album, something I appreciate from the back.
It takes some commitment, you know. It's a long time ago, I knew a guy when I worked at Walmart that really hard for him to sit down and listen to Tool, because he felt like they took so long to get to the point in their music. And I said, yeah, but so here's the thing you might not be realizing, though. That is the point with their music. They purposely take their time to let a song run its course and tell whatever story in whatever obscure fashion Maynard wants to with his lyrics, or the band as a whole, you know. Here you go, buddy. Gotta wipe my kid's nose. Jeez. Let's one rip right by me. Is this what you're looking for? Right. Sorry about that.
No problem.
But I bring up the attention span thing because I don't know if you feel like this. It's kind of lacking with people these days in a lot of ways. And not that there's anything wrong with a shorter song, like 2.5, 3.5 minutes long. That's fine. But those songs are meant for radio, a lot of them, and that's why they're that long.
Right.
And my problem with those songs that are shorter, I feel like they end and they were supposed to go on for longer. And I'm like, okay, yeah, for me anyways, I'm like, okay, but the idea didn't sound finished. The song just ends. So I like that like 5-minute song, 6 minutes, 7, 8, and more, especially if it's an epic, like a Dream Theater song or, something like that. Do you think that you would ever attempt to write something that was like 10 plus minutes long?
Well, my follow-up album's in the works right now. Well, actually, for this, I'll go back a little bit. When I recorded the material for this current album that you've heard, there were 4 leftover songs that I just didn't have time to finish. So one of them's an 8-minute long song. And then in the writing process for this follow-up album, I have another 7.5-minute long song. So the track list or track length get up there sometimes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't make it 10 minutes on purpose, but if the song needs to be that long, it's going to be that long,
Yeah, if it happens that way, it happens that way. You got to let it go the route that it's going to go.
I kind of believe like in just giving like an honest listen to the material when you're writing it and kind of just listening to where the song wants to go. If it's 2 minutes and it feels complete, that's it. Don't stretch it out for the sake of making it long. And the same thing with a long song. Don't shorten it just because you want it to be a short song. You got to kind of just listen to where the music wants to go. Yeah, if that makes any sense.
No, it does make sense because it brings me into another point that goes into the point you just made of there's musicians that are too hung up on something being perfect. Like they want it to be super polished sounding. They want, the best production and mixing that they could buy or get. And I'm like, I feel like that kind of takes away a little bit from the point of making music in the first place. It's supposed to be this cathartic kind of thing where it letting it be organic and happen naturally and just run the course that it's meant to versus just basically sticking to like having a blueprint in front of you, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah, it's a balance, you don't want it to sound like crap, but you also don't want, I think if you work too long on something, it becomes not fun, which to me, like, it's got to be fun or what are we doing?
Yeah.
It also loses some of that, I don't know, just authenticity, So I find it very helpful to work with somebody. A lot of people track themselves and mix and master by themselves, and they're never finished. If you work with somebody, they can be like, this is good enough, quit retaking it. It sounds fine. And
yeah.
I'm like, okay, I trust you. That's why we're working together, because I know I know and respect your musical opinions. So if you say it's good enough,
I think it would be hard for me if I was making music to if I let it get to a certain point and then I'm handing it over for them to work their magic on. There's part of me that would be kind of like wanting to look over their shoulder and but keep myself from saying, oh no, don't do that in that part. I like that part, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's it's a tricky relationship working with somebody on your music, because you put your heart and soul into it and they're like, you should probably cut that part. Yeah. And then why? Jared and I went back and forth on a couple of things, but I think for the most part, in hindsight, all of the decisions or all the recommendations he gave to me were they're the right choice.
Yeah. He kind of that's good, man.
Kept me grounded.
I would I'd say definitely keep that guy in your corner for working with, because he sounds like he pulls out the best in you, and he and building that trust with them is also another very important thing in my book.
He's a very busy man. I like working with him, but I'm just happy whenever he can make time. He's like in 14 different bands and recording other.
How would he find time for anything else, man?
This dude, he lives it, That's
for sure. I guess so. So I want to talk about, before I get back to more of like what's in store for the future for Skull Mason. When you get that band together, right? When you start being at a point where you could do like a live show, how would you say you envision, I guess, that sounding for Skull Mason? Do you want to kind of stand apart from other bands' live shows, or are you just going to go out there and you want to leave it all on the stage and let it be interpreted by the audience in the way that they are going to interpret it for a live show?
Yeah, I mean, so from my perspective, I'm just kind of a plug in and play kind of guy.
Okay.
We'll come up with a set list that we think I guess delivers the message we're trying to deliver, which is riffs, you know?
Yeah. Riffs, that's thrash.
We like riffs. Yeah. Of course, if there's other people in the band, they're gonna have their flavor. So, you know, we'll just have to kind of see. But for me, it's like a very riff first kind of music. I take a lot of time with my lyrics. They mean a lot for me for the most part. That being said, I don't know if people listen to them or can even decipher them because I'm yelling for the most part. But I try to leave something for people to chew on lyrically as well. So
yeah, I listen to lyrics pretty heavily when I listen to music, and for your music, I had ideas about what some of the songs might be referencing or being about, but I kind of wanted to hear from you for a few in particular, and one of them in particular, I want to bring up Power of Mind, and for a little bit of context of what was behind that song. And then your other feature, not the one, I'm bad with remembering song titles sometimes, but it's not the last track on the album, but it's the first feature that you come across on it. I want to ask
probably Finally Awake.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I want to ask about more a backstory behind those two songs before we get on to the next topic.
Sure. Power of Mind, without like spelling it out for people, it's cool for people to be able to derive their own meaning as well. But it's just about self-defeating thought patterns. And people beat themselves up with, you know, thinking negatively instead of thinking positively.
Right.
And the chorus goes, betrayed by the power of your mind. So you're screwing yourself over by telling yourself you're gonna not do well in whatever situation, kind of thing.
I kind of got that impression a bit with the song, especially the chorus part you just quoted, because it's very true. I'm guilty of that a lot. Like, I talk myself down a lot of different ways with a lot of different ideas all the time. And so that could be a song for me that I'll listen to just give myself a kick in my ass.
Yeah,
so to speak. Just trust your instincts and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. In heavy metal, a lot of times, you know, it's dark, a lot of negative stuff, and I love a dark song, and you know, nothing's off limits, but it also feels good to leave a positive message, you know. And I'm a pretty positive guy, so I'm just being genuine. It's not like I'm like trying to be this or that. I'm just writing the lyrics that feel true to my heart, you know.
I feel that 100%. And you said something that made me think of that old stigma or old taboo that's always been associated with like heavy metal and thrash in general, that it's just evil, right? That there's nothing positive with it. They don't talk about positive things. It's always about like Satan or something, or like murder, or I don't know, you know, like and it's like,
well, all that stuff's cool too. It's a good vent, you know.
Right. You know, it just
wasn't true to me at that moment in time.
yeah. I mean, some of those bands are like that. You're right, but I think it is the wrong idea that people get. Like, I've met a lot of bands, you know, death metal bands or metal bands in general. Some of the nicest people I've ever met. In one example, I haven't met him, but I've just seen video. Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse collects teddy bears to give out to sick children.
Right, exactly.
Like, what's evil about that, right? You know,
not a thing. He's one of the nicest guys ever.
Yeah, that's all I ever hear. I find a lot of uplifting things when I listen to metal, heavy music. Like it puts me in a good mood.
That's what's crazy, because when I listen to like super pop stuff, it puts me in a bad mood. And I listen to like the aggressive metal stuff, and I feel like $1,000, like $1,000,000. You know?
Yeah, like a weight gets lifted or something from your shoulders or your chest.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a vent. It's like punching a punching bag. You feel good afterwards.
Yeah, and that's 100% probably how you feel when you get done writing a new song. You're like, oh yeah, got that idea out. I feel good about it. Can't wait for people to hear it. So
yeah, good to have a creative outlet.
Yeah, exactly. It's I wish I could dedicate myself to an instrument and get serious about it, and I could. I need to do it right. That's the whole thing. Yeah. But for now, it's the podcast. This is my creative outlet, and it's my way of connecting with bands I listen to and get to know the people behind the music. Because I like hearing about the person they are, or the people they are. If it's the full band interview, and just like I said at the start of this, it's a community for me. It's a community of people. And I just want to be a not a lifeline, but a resource, I guess, for bands. I'm not the biggest podcast there is, but I have a little bit of reach now at this point, and so I just want to do my part helping out. I've had help from people giving me ideas to get more people watching or more attention to it. How I could talk to bands to get them enticed enough to come on and actually talk to me, and like a business side of it in a sense. So yeah, man, that's why I didn't respond to everybody that sent me a message from I think, was it Metal Promotions that we were talking in at first?
Yeah, probably that one. Yeah, I'm always on that.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you, but I had upwards of 40 to 50 plus DMs.
Damn.
Throughout the next couple of days from bands just saying, hey, check us out. Hey, check us out. Hey, write this review. And I had to sit back and just kind of pick who I was going to dedicate some time to, because how long you think it would take me to respond to every person and say, hey, yeah, come on. Realistically, I probably wouldn't have time to.
Right, so and then actually do the interviews. You're booked for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, I would have been booked clear up until around maybe September if I responded to everybody.
Yeah.
And all that's awesome on one hand. On the other, so much work that I would have to prep for, man, and make sure I remembered.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's so cool though, man. It's great to be able to connect to people, especially about music. And even more especially about metal music for me.
Yeah. Have you been having any other luck with getting on some podcasts or talking? I saw a few things on, it was either your own profile or the Skull Mason profile, where you did talk to some people, correct?
Yeah, this is my third podcast.
Okay, yeah. Well, I have another podcast that I want you to reach out to, and that's called Beyond the Breakdown with Six Scars is the name of that podcast. His name is it's a take on his first musical project, Six Scars, that he's been doing for a long time, and we started our podcast around the same time, and I think you and him would have a real good time talking about your music. So I could either have you get in touch with him, or I could tell him to reach out to you. And I say go ahead and go on there too. They're now a duo podcast. It's him and April that do the podcast now. So you'd have two people you'd be able to talk to on that one. But 100% recommend going on that one as well when you get some time to.
Yeah, man. Send me his info. I'll reach out. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll definitely send the info. No problem, man. I want to talk a little bit more about Skull Mason before we start wrapping this up. And you mentioned in brief what the future holds, and then like the next album. I want to talk just a bit about where that's at now. I think you said you have 4 songs that you're working on that were going to be on the first, but you decided to hold back with those ones. Going to be a few more songs on this one, or are you going to try and keep it the same length?
So those 4 songs are completely recorded minus the vocals.
Okay.
So those have, and they're not leftover tracks. They might be just as strong, in my opinion, or stronger than the songs in the first album, but a similar vibe. And then I have demoed 2 songs, so that makes it 6 songs so far. I got another couple ready to go. It's just a matter of booking some studio time. Trying to make it 8 songs. I'm just old fashioned. I'm like a vinyl guy. I want a side A, side B. Kinda, I feel like 8 songs is a good album length. I'm not like I mean, there's plenty of great albums that are like 14 songs, but it can get a little bit of listening fatigue on stuff like that. I'd rather leave people wanting more. Yeah,
I can't sit down and listen to some, like, I don't listen to hip hop or rap really, but you know how you go into, there's just for fun, I go onto Apple Music and I'll go into like random genres and check some stuff out. There was one rap album that had upwards of 30 plus tracks on it, where the majority were like 20 seconds, 50 seconds.
Interludes and stuff, yeah.
Like interlude things or like little spoken word things.
Yeah.
I'm just like, but then I go down and I look at the length and it's not even an hour long. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
Yeah, it completely. Exactly. It's like a completely different thing, different genre, different vibe, different sound. So it works for them. But
speaking of hip hop, this is kind of different and weird, cool. But not everybody's gonna feel it. But I got a friend named Lyrics Anonymous out in California who sampled the intro, the clean guitar intro of Past Life Haunting, and is currently making a hip hop track out of it.
That's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting, yeah. I was like, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, have fun, man. I'm going to watch out for that. Send me a link to it or whatever when it's out, or where I can find it, and I'll check it out. Man. I want to hear that.
Yeah, he sent me some samples. It's a work in progress, but where it's going is definitely different.
Pretty cool. But yeah, man, dude, I'm excited for the new music. And in the future for the band. Got nothing but respect for what you do, and I'm looking forward to you being able to get that band together so you can start doing the live end of it like you're wanting. And I think 2025 will be your year for that. I'm really hoping it will be.
We're pushing for it, man.
One show, even if it's one show, at least you can say you did it, and then 2026 you could really get some things fleshed out and things lined up for the live show. Yeah, man. I think the album's fantastic that's out. I highly recommend it for thrash fans, especially of the sort of more old school kind of style of it. I think my older brother actually would probably really like the sound that it has because he loves his favorite band's Metallica. Always been Metallica. Yeah. So I think he'd love Skull Mason. So I plan on getting him listening to it. He's been sick as a dog lately, so I haven't really talked with them much.
Someone's going around, man.
Dude, it's just hitting everybody. But dude, it's been a great time. Had a lot of fun talking to you.
Same, man.
I would love to have you back on again when some new music's coming out and we could talk about that and I could promote it. Definitely. Do best I can with that. You could feel free right now if you'd like to drop where people could find your music and where your socials are so they could like and follow them, and then we can get this wrapped up.
Sure. So Skull Mason's the name of the project. Got a Facebook page. I got a Instagram page. I post a lot of stuff regarding the project on my personal page. My name is Aaron Holland. Feel free to friend me. I accept everybody.
Yeah.
And we're streaming on everything: Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, and all the stuff. So, type in Skull Mason will pop up. I also wanted to give you another thank you. Really
no problem,
smooth operation you got going here. Type podcast and give me a chance to reach some people. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we've had I think the most people that popped in was about 4, but I have most of the time within the first 30 minutes to an hour and a half, a couple hundred views on new episodes when they go up on Facebook. So I can guarantee you that there's going to be plenty of eyes that'll come and peruse this and either click through it and find parts that they want to hear and watch the whole thing. And really hoping from that people come your way and say, hey, dude, your music kicks ass, because I think it kicks ass. So
that's the hope. And thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate that.
Yeah. It's been awesome having you.
For our listeners, what's going on?
Yeah. So look for this on the YouTube for Liars Pacifist. I'll probably have this up a little bit later in the day, probably after my other interviews when I'll get things. I don't edit anything, so I just put it up in its raw form.
Perfect.
But look for that within the next few hours, and then you could share it from my Facebook page at any time after it wraps up, by the way. So you're free to do that. But yeah, man, I had a great time, Aaron. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll be in touch. I promise you that. And yeah, we'll look forward to next time.
Excellent, man. Thanks again.
Take care, man.
Later.